Welcome back to Marvel's Breakdown, the series where I go over the Easter eggs and references to original Marvel comics in Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross's 1994 series Marvels. Today, I will be going over Marvel's number 4, which came out in April 1994. Of course, while there are plenty of non-comics references in these books, such as cameos of Who band members Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey, here I will only be reviewing the comic-specific references. I would also like to preface this with saying that you do not need to know all of these intricate continuity details in order to appreciate Marvels as a series. I'm only doing this because I find these references to original Marvel comics fascinating. I highly encourage you to read Marvels with or without this knowledge. And with that, let's get started. As is the case with all the issues in this series, the events of Marvel's number 4 are set in roughly the same time period as the original Marvel comics they reference. In this case, Marvel's number 4 covers the events of the Marvel Universe from Avengers number 92, which was published in September 1971, to The Incredible Hulk number 166, which was published in August 1973. However, since comic publication dates are usually around 2 months ahead of their release, these books probably came out between July 1971 and May 1973. So, the events of Marvel's number 4 covers a little under 2 years of late Silver Age Marvel comics. Before diving into the issue itself, a quick look at the cover shows the Green Goblin and Gwen Stacy reflected in Spider-Man's eyepiece. This image, though not an exact replica of the real event from Marvel history, is obviously an allusion to the death of Gwen Stacy in Amazing Spider-Man number 121, which we'll cover later on in this issue. Page 1 opens with Phil Sheldon at a book signing for his new book Marvels. The cover of the book has the photo of Giant Man Phil took in Marvels number 2 on it, which was taken during the events of Avengers number 6. One of Phil's fans points out a photo of Hawkeye in the book that seems to be him fighting an illusory monster from Avengers number 21, based on the giant hands reaching toward Hawkeye. Pages 2 and 3 have a massive spread depicting an amalgamation of events from the Kree-Skrull War, which took place in the Avengers title over the course of several issues. This massive battle of all the Avengers fighting both Kree and Skrull soldiers never took place in the actual comic, as the Avengers remained split apart for most of the war. From left to right in this panel, we see the Scarlet Witch firing a hex bolt, Thor throwing his hammer, Clint Barton as Goliath, Captain Marvel punching a Skrull, Captain America throwing his shield, Vision beating another Skrull, which is actually an allusion to the cover and events of Avengers number 96, Quicksilver quickly collecting guns, and Iron Man flying above the fray. The designs of the Kree soldiers vary between the more complicated uniforms they had in Avengers number 95 and the more simplistic outfits they wear in Avengers number 97. The Skrulls similarly have 2 different outfits, the helmeted ones that are front and center here, and the more generic unhelmeted ones that can just barely be seen in the background of this spread. Also in the background is a giant screen that presumably has Skrull Emperor Doric VII on it, just like in Avengers number 96. The caption on this panel noting that Earth and human life hang in the balance is accurate, as Earth is located midway between the Kree and Skrull galaxies, apparently making its possession of strategic importance, resulting in both sides of the war trying to either enslave or destroy Earth. While the general public didn't know the specifics of this, they did know that aliens were trying to destroy mankind based on Ronan the Accuser's attack on Earth, which occurred right before the Kree-Skrull War broke out in Avengers number 90 and number 91. Finally, moving on to the next panel, we see the Avengers being protested as they walk to Senate hearings from Avengers number 92, with some of the signs taken directly from that issue. The Senate investigation, which is mentioned in the next panel, was to investigate subversive alien activity following the events of Ronan's attack on Earth being made public. The rest of the panel depicts the attempted arrest of the Avengers by Mandroids in Avengers number 94 and number 95, with the panel being a combination of a few different panels depicting that fight. Panel 4 shows Senator H. Warren Craddock, who had been leading the anti-alien Senate investigation, being revealed as a Skrull during a speech. This uncovering was due to Rick Jones sending a massive force across the universe to put an end to the Kree-Skrull War in Avengers number 97. Panel 6 focuses on an empty Avengers mansion, which is based on its depiction in the official Handbook of the Marvel Universe number 1, rather than any then-contemporary appearances. Page 4 moves beyond the Kree-Skrull War, though it does offhandedly mention the Avengers' victory and return to Earth from Avengers number 97. Panel 1 of this page depicts the entrance to the Baxter Building, seemingly inspired by its appearance in Fantastic Four number 6. The bugle ad on the truck accusing Spider-Man of murder is inspired by the campaign the newspaper led following Captain George Stacy's death in Amazing Spider-Man number 90, which Spider-Man was blamed for. We'll see plenty more of that event later on in this issue. Panel 2 moves to the interior of the Baxter Building looking very much like it did in Fantastic Four number 11, with marble decor and tiled floors. Inside Iggy's Deli, Kirby-inspired comic art of the Human Torch and the Thing decorate the walls. This actually makes sense in universe, as there is a Fantastic Four comic canonically drawn by Jack Kirby that exists in the Marvel Comics universe, and which the Fantastic Four approve of, explaining why this comic art exists. In the background of Panel 4, posters of Captain America and Namor the Submariner can be seen, which are not based on any particular original comic. The color nature of Cap's photo, however, implies it's from the Silver Age of comics, while Namor's being in black and white makes it more likely to belong to the World War II Golden Age era. Panel 4 also has Bugle reporter Ben Urich make another appearance, after previously appearing in Marvel's number 2 and number 3. The trial of Black Widow on page 5 is taken straight from Daredevil number 83, where she was put on trial for seemingly killing the Scorpion when he fell off a then-under-construction World Trade Center. The prosecutor here is Foggy Nelson, working against Black Widow due to a blackmail scheme, while at the Widow's side is Matt Murdock, lawyer and alter ego of Daredevil. Phil mentioning in panel 5 that the Scorpion turned out not to be dead is due to his having been kidnapped and replaced by an android as part of a wider time travel-based conspiracy. Black Widow wearing black here isn't from the original comic, though given that we never saw these opening arguments in the original comic, this is likely just indicative that this is a different day of the trial. Page 6's Daily Globe headline refers to the events of Iron Man number 45, in which students demonstrating Stark Industries were blasted by the guardsmen, leaving 4 wounded and seemingly even dead for a time. This led to the protest becoming a riot and Iron Man also being attacked by protesters despite not initially being involved. There are a couple of different options for which attack the photo in this newspaper is depicting, with the latter option being the more likely, though the pose Iron Man is in is more reminiscent of one the guardsman strikes in Iron Man number 46. The vote of no confidence in Tony Stark occurs in the same issue as the riot. Things are simply not going well for Tony in these Iron Man issues. Panel 2 has Phil and Marcia accompanying Bugle reporter Phil Fox on the job, with him dressed exactly how he is in Hero for Hire number 4. The scene of black teenagers disparaging the Falcon is based on a scene where they do so to Falcon's face in Captain America number 151, with the street and sidewalk looking similar to the one seen here. The Black Panther graffiti in the background could be a reference to either the superhero or the Black Panther Party. Panel 3 has J. Jonah Jameson, dressed like he is an Amazing Spider-Man number 113, storming through the Daily Bugle offices with Joe Robbie Robertson, the city editor, trailing behind him. Jonah again mentions George Stacy's death before beginning to quote an editorial he wrote, which is also quoted by Daredevil in Daredevil number 84. Page 7 has Phil sleep through the events of Fantastic Four number 120 to number 123, in which Galactus returns to Earth. Phil's dreams allude to this event, with the giant being Galactus, the angel being his new herald Gabriel, and the soothing voice being Mr. Fantastic, who spoke to the entire world through their minds via the magic of Agatha Harkness, to inform them that the threat of Galactus was over. Doris mentions these events in panels 3 and 4, while Phil's magazine presents some of the not-so-glamorous events the Fantastic Four were going through around the same time. The FF's landlord, Walter Collins, threatened to evict them following a damaging attack on the Baxter Building in Fantastic Four number 120, while the photograph of Mr. Fantastic being swarmed by reporters exiting a municipal court of law is from Fantastic Four number 114, when the super team was arrested and had to be bailed following a damaging fight the team had with the Hulk. Page 8, panel 5 has a picture of the eel in the background, which was previously seen in Phil's darkroom in Marvel's number 2, and which I previously determined to be from around the time the eel left prison in costume in Strange Tales number 117. Panel 6 places Phil back in the Bugle's offices with Jameson's secretary Betty Brant and her fiancé, reporter Ned Leeds, right behind him, dressed exactly as they are in Amazing Spider-Man number 113. Speaking of Spider-Man, he appears on page 9, crawling up the side of the Bugle. This isn't from any original comic appearance, as, based on Spidey's costume here and Betty and Ned's outfits, this doesn't align chronologically with any of the in-comic instances of Spider-Man climbing up the Bugle around this time, making this just a cool standalone Alex Ross panel. Robbie Robertson again appears at the bottom of this page with an office that seems to be an amalgamation of a few of its appearances from the comics of the time. As can be seen on the next page, Robbie's asking Phil to take photos of Luke Cage, who is a new hero around this point of time in Marvel Comics. Cage being based near Times Square is from Hero for Hire number 2, where he acquires an office above a movie theater on West 42nd Street, while his publicly taking out dope dealers is from Hero for Hire number 1. Robbie hands Phil one of Cage's business cards with its design taken from its various appearances in Hero for Hire comics. Cage is specifically seen ordering them in Hero for Hire number 2. Robbie also mentions reporter Phil Fox again as looking into Cage for the Broadway beat column, which is exactly what Fox is doing when he appears in Hero for Hire number 4. Phil mentions George Stacy's murder again in panel 3 before going to visit Cage's office to take photos in panel 5. The office's appearance is straight from Hero for Hire number 2, while Cage's outfit with the yellow boots is based on its look from Hero for Hire number 3 onward. Cage's trepidation about having his picture taken is due to his being an escaped convict from Seagate Prison as a part of his origin story. Page 11, Panel 4 presents a different angle of Cage's office, which is still accurate to its layout in Hero for Hire number 2, though with the addition of books on the filing cabinets. Further down the page, Phil interviews a witness of George Stacy's murder, and we get a dreamlike recollection of the events of Amazing Spider-Man number 90. Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus's fight in Panel 6 is not taken from any specific moment in Amazing Spider-Man number 90, though their general rooftop fight is. The birds flying behind them are also from the original comic, which was chock full of birds flying over New York City for some reason. The next page continues this flashback with Spider-Man's positioning in the first panel, reminiscent of Dr. Octopus's when he was fighting off his out-of-control mechanical limbs. The police car scene on the street appears both on Amazing Spider-Man number 90's cover and in the issue itself. Spider-Man toppling the chimney in panels 2 and 3 is a misremembering of the actual event, where Dr. Octopus, albeit accidentally, knocked over the chimney with his out-of-control tentacles. Captain Stacy sacrificing himself to save a child from being hit by the falling debris in Panel 4 is straight from the original comic. Spider-Man going to pick Captain Stacy up in Panel 5 isn't seen exactly in the original issue, but presumably does happen between panels. Behind the two, Captain Stacy's cane can be seen sticking out of the rubble, which can also be seen in the original comic as well. The witness remarking that Captain Stacy wasn't dead all the way when Spider-Man got to him is accurate, though he died only a page later in the original comic in Spider-Man's arms. Finally, panel 6 of this page is a direct recreation of a panel from Amazing Spider-Man number 90, of Spider-Man carrying off Captain Stacy. Page 13 cuts back to reality, with Phil visiting a police station to learn that Spider-Man is only wanted for questioning, not for murder, when it comes to George Stacy's death, something which was retroactively mentioned in Amazing Spider-Man number 186. The detectives on this page also mention that something hard and metallic knocked over the chimney that killed George Stacy, another clue that Dr. Octopus was really the one to blame. At the bottom of page 13, Phil can be seen walking past a Daily Globe headline about the Hulk being in Greenwich Village, which is a reference to Marvel feature number 2, where he was summoned to the area to help a kidnapped Doctor Strange. The photo of the Hulk is one that we've seen before in the series, back on the cover of Marvel H number 130, where I deduced that it was likely from the slideshow of images taken in Incredible Hulk number 5. There must not be too many photos of the Hulk for the Globe to have to reuse this one so many years later. Moving on to page 14, we see Phil's daughter Beth holding a plush toy of Zemnu the Titan, which was merchandise connected to his show Astronauts in Marvel feature number 3, a show which would turn out to be part of a ploy to hypnotize and kidnap Earth's children. Beth even name-checks Astronauts further down the page as being what she was watching on the television. The special news bulletin that interrupts Astronauts is similar to one from Avengers number 102, which covers the mysterious photographs of the sun taken by Starcore Station. The denials the reporter mentions were also mentioned in Avengers number 102, and the mysterious photograph itself appears both here in Marvel's and in the original Avengers issue. The unknown objects are revealed to be the mutant-hunting Sentinels, which were tricked into flying to the sun by Cyclops in X-Men number 59. Page 15 doesn't have many comics references, though Phil's neighbor here is Arthur Lindstrom, a civilian who first appeared in the Silver Surfer The Ultimate Cosmic Experience graphic novel, and who has canonically been part of both anti-mutant and anti-alien mobs. Clearly, he sucks. Page 16 continues Phil's investigation into George Stacy's death. The witnesses generally believing Spider-Man was to blame is consistent with how the event was viewed in the original comics, though the man in panel 1 is incorrect in saying that Spider-Man yelled George Stacy's name before the chimney fell. The third witness is one who actually appeared in the original comic, an amalgamation of two different bystanders in back-to-back panels. Moving down the page, J. Jonah Jameson's office appears like it did in Marvel's number 3, inspired by a number of Ditko-era depictions of it. Jonah is still wearing his outfit from Amazing Spider-Man number 113, while Phil's dialogue makes mention of a few recent Spider-Man appearances. Spidey being accused of kidnapping the blood specialist Hans Jorgensen is from Marvel Team-Up number 4, where he was actually kidnapped by the living vampire Michael Morbius, and Spider-Man was just spotted in the wrong place at the wrong time. The article Jameson wrote about that can actually be seen in that very issue. Alternatively, Spidey failing to stop a crime wave is from Amazing Spider-Man number 112, where he was ignoring crime in order to search for a missing Aunt May. The specific wording of yellow is from the original issue. Page 17 demonstrates Jameson's true motive for disliking superheroes, as it makes ordinary people look lesser, a motive he first espoused in Amazing Spider-Man number 10. Jameson is interrupted by news of the Avengers being spotted fighting the Sentinels in Australia, which they did publicly in Avengers number 103, trying to rescue a kidnapped Scarlet Witch from a secret Australian base. The things from the sun the copy boy mentions could be either the Sentinels themselves, or the solar flares the Sentinels were provoking in an attempt to sterilize humanity and eliminate mutation once and for all. The bottom of the page moves to Phil's darkroom once more, where a photograph of Dr. Doom can be seen up with the recent photos taken of Luke Cage. There are only a few instances where Doom could have been publicly photographed at this point in Marvel history, though my bet on which appearance this could be is from Doom assisting the Fantastic Four in defeating the Overmind in Fantastic Four number 116, given that it was one of the most public and most recent instances. The next page sharply transitions to the Daily Bugle headline detailing Dr. Octopus's capture in his own hideout from Amazing Spider-Man number 115, following a fight with Spider-Man and a larger gang war with Hammerhead. The Bugle's masthead here is the same as it was in Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 15 and in the last issue of Marvels. Spider-Man did flee the scene, being spotted last by Aunt May, who was serving as Dr. Octopus's housekeeper. The photo of Dr. Octopus being led away by 2 police officers is from the original comic. The other story in the newspaper about Avengers Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne seemingly dying in a fire is from Marvel Feature number 6, where they actually survived the fire that consumed their home, but were shrunk at an ant size. The photograph in the paper is of the two's wedding from Avengers number 60, with Hank in costume as Yellow Jacket. Behind them can be spotted fellow Avenger Black Panther, as well as a number of the X-Men who were in attendance in costume at the wedding. From left to right, this includes the Angel, Warren Worthington III, Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, Scott Summers, Cyclops, and Bobby Drake, Iceman. Further down the page is footage of Daredevil and Black Widow fighting the Indestructible Man on the Oakland Bay Bridge from Daredevil number 94, with Daredevil's recovery in the next panel also being from that issue. The overall attack of the Indestructible Man was indeed caught on film in that issue. Moving on to page 19, we see the Daily Globe building exterior, inspired by a number of its comic appearances. The next panel transitions inside to a New Year's Eve party with Phil in attendance alongside Daily Globe publisher Barney Bushkin and, in the bottom left, Ben Urich. Blurbs of conversation could be heard throughout the party, making mention of both the Human Torch having a new red costume, the result of an inhuman electro-weave device in Fantastic Four number 132, and the villain Solar, who had just tried to rob a bank and publicly declared his name in Captain America number 160. At the bottom of this page, Barney talks about the villain Thundra challenging the Thing to a fight in Shia Stadium 3 days after New Year's Eve. This challenge was actually issued just before midnight on New Year's Eve in Fantastic Four number 133, meaning it only just happened earlier in the evening in the context of this scene in Marvels, explaining Barney's excitement. Adding one more level of connection to both that issue and this one, it can be seen to be snowing in New York City on New Year's Eve in both comics. Page 20 doesn't have many references beyond another mention of Phil's Giant Man photo, so moving on to page 21 places Phil on the path to visiting Dr. Octopus in Rikers Island, Rikers being spelled with a Y in Marvel Comics. Its appearance here is a combination of a few different appearances in the comics, with the police boat Phil is on being similar to one seen in Daredevil number 63. Page 21 moves inside Rikers, where Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, can be seen behind bars at the far right. Toomes was indeed in prison around this time, as stated in Amazing Spider-Man number 128, though his capture following his previous appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 64 was never seen. In panel 2, Phil begins interviewing Dr. Octopus about George Stacy's death, mentioning that Octavius seemed to have lost control of his tentacles. Despite what Otto says, this is indeed because Spider-Man sprayed his tentacles with special web fluid that jammed his brain pulses from reaching his mechanical arms, resulting in him flailing around and toppling the chimney. While the Dr. Octopus interview proves fruitless, Phil moves on to visiting Stacy's home on the next page, another building that is a conglomeration of its appearances from the original comics. Answering the door to the home is Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy's daughter and Peter Parker's then-girlfriend. Her outfit here seems to be the same one she wore during Amazing Spider-Man number 90. This can be better seen on page 24, where Phil enters the Stacy's home, with an interior pulled straight from the Spectacular Spider-Man magazine number 2, with the addition of a small photograph of Captain Stacy on the table next to Gwen. Panel 2 has Gwen dressed in an outfit also from the Spectacular Spider-Man magazine number 2, while in panels 3 and 4 she's wearing an outfit from Amazing Spider-Man number 82. Gwen talking about her initially blaming Spider-Man for her father's death is accurate from the immediate aftermath of Captain Stacy's death, while her beginning to doubt Spider-Man's fault began in Amazing Spider-Man number 95, and was even noted by Peter in Amazing Spider-Man number 99. The Gwen Stacy outfit-orama continues on page 25, where she seems to be wearing her trench coat from Amazing Spider-Man number 72, along with her handbag seen in Amazing Spider-Man number 121. Gwen mentioning her father and J. Jonah Jameson disagreeing about Spider-Man could be seen throughout the two characters' appearances and interactions together throughout the Silver Age. The next page depicts Namor the Submariner's invasion of New York from Submariner number 60. All the various crafts seen here have origins in that comic, including the basic hovercrafts, the flying fish ships, the non-winged flying ship, the octopus-looking crafts, and the green crab craft. Inside the green crab, an Atlantean soldier can be seen, whose design is also taken from Submariner number 60, as can be better seen on the following page. Back on page 26, the Atlantean citizen Namor was trying to rescue from the UN was Tamara, a water-breathing alien who was inducted as an Atlantean citizen in Submariner number 58 and captured by a Russian ship in Submariner number 59. Phil's comment about the invasion being relatively peaceful is accurate, as Namor ordered the Atlanteans not to attack unless attacked. The only exception to this was when a traitorous Atlantean warrior, Lorvex, briefly ordered the troops to attack the city, which is likely when most of the property damage Phil mentioned occurred. Namor making restitution for the invasion was not mentioned in the original comic. Page 27 doesn't have many references, so moving on to page 28, we can see an additional Atlantean craft designed like a lobster, which is also from Submariner number 60. The broken water hydrant on the right is likely an allusion to one which appears in the original issue. Namor flying over Phil on page 29 is most likely him flying to the UN to free Tamara based on the events of the invasion we see around this page in Marvels. The flashback of Namor in panel 2 as he appeared at the very beginning is likely not from any original comic. The closest original Golden Age source for Namor destroying girders while surrounded by flame would be his fight with the original Human Torch on the George Washington Bridge in Marvel Mystery Comics number 8. Though since Busiek specifies in the script that these flames are not from the torch, this is likely just an original image of Ross's creation. Page 30's plume of smoke could be either from Namor's initial attack on the city or from the more serious attack Lorvex initiates during the invasion. It's a little unclear here. Page 31 has Phil back at the Stacy home, ironically deriding Peter Parker's exploitative photography of Spider-Man, a dislike previously seen in Marvel's number 3. Further down this page, we see the Green Goblin abducting Gwen Stacy from Peter Parker's apartment, a continuation of a scene seen in Amazing Spider-Man number 121. This actual kidnapping, in addition to the flight the Goblin takes over the next few pages, is not seen in the original comic, but presumably did happen. This flight leads Phil to a bridge that, despite looking like the Brooklyn Bridge, is actually supposed to be the George Washington Bridge, where the infamous events of Amazing Spider-Man number 121 and number 122 take place. Page 34 kicks off a series of pages which are basically exact recreations of moments from Amazing Spider-Man number 121 and number 122. These include Spider-Man swinging up to the bridge to confront the Goblin in panel 1, and the Goblin throwing a pumpkin bomb at Spider-Man in panel 2. Phil mentioning in this panel that he couldn't hear Spidey or the Goblin at a distance is convenient, given that the Goblin refers to Spider-Man as being Peter Parker by name during their fight. Panel 4 continues the exact panel recreations, with Spider-Man being hit by the Goblin's glider. This continues onto the next page, with the Goblin getting his face webbed, Spider-Man pulling the Goblin back with his web, and the hero shot of Spider-Man punching the Green Goblin off his glider. The Goblin knocking Gwen off the top of the bridge is also from the original comic. Page 36, panel 1, is basically a different angle of a panel from Amazing Spider-Man number 121, as is the image of Spider-Man firing his web in panel 2, leading up to the panel recreation of Gwen getting caught by the leg with webbing, including the snap sound effect by her neck. This transitions us to page 37, which covers events from Amazing Spider-Man number 122, such as Spider-Man beating on the Green Goblin's head in panel 1. Panel 2 is an exact recreation of a panel from the original comic, with Phil taking the place of one of the bystanders. This is also the case with panel 3 of the ambulance speeding away from the scene. Page 38's Daily Globe paper details the death of Norman Osborn, with his photo included on the front page. The other photograph in the paper is of the warehouse Osborn was found dead in, which is taken almost exactly from a panel in Amazing Spider-Man number 122. The headline speculating about Spider-Man and Green Goblin being involved in the death is due to both webbing and pumpkin bombs being present at the scene, as stated in Amazing Spider-Man number 123. All of this tiptoeing around the fact that Norman Osborn actually was the Green Goblin is due to his identity being covered up by his son Harry after Spider-Man left the scene. Other newspapers reporting on Norman's death and Spider-Man's involvement were seen in Amazing Spider-Man number 124, alongside the Bugle accusing him of murder like Phil states they did here. Phil goes back to the bridge on page 39, where his description of the flat crack that accompanied Gwen's death is likely a reference to the snap sound effect from both the original issue and Marvel's. Phil also mentions the shock of the fall being what killed Gwen as opposed to the whiplash from being caught by Spider-Man, which has been one argument in the debate surrounding her cause of death outside of the comics. Page 40 doesn't really have any references, so moving along to page 41 presents us with a photo Phil took of Black Panther foiling the Split-Second Squad in Avengers number 77. Phil throws the photo onto a pile chock full of photographs in panel 2. These include photos of the lizard climbing a wall from Amazing Spider-Man number 44, Spider-Man fighting the Rhino from Amazing Spider-Man number 43, and a photograph of Sandman smoking a cigar that is likely new to Marvel's given the lack of public opportunities Phil would have had to photograph him smoking in that exact outfit. The photograph of an all-green beetle could be from a few different sources, including Amazing Spider-Man number 94, which has photographs similar to this one dotted throughout it. Underneath these photos include images of Namor, the Human Torch, and Triton, which can be better seen a few pages later, so I'll address them then. Panel 3 has recurrence of the Hulk photo from earlier this issue. Panel 4's Time magazine cover reports on the fallout of the Vision and Scarlet Witch's romance being made public, which sparked intense positive and negative reactions in the public in Avengers number 113, including an assassination attempt on the Vision's life. The radio report of a space shuttle being stolen from Stark Industries in Detroit in panel 5 is from Iron Man number 60, where the villain the Masked Marauder stole it in order to build an atomic bomb for blackmail purposes. Franklin Richards' christening, which is mentioned in panel 6, has not been seen in Marvel Comics to my knowledge, though he was officially named Franklin Benjamin Richards after over a year of namelessness in Fantastic Four number 94. The callbacks continue onto page 42, with a photo of a webbed-up shocker from Amazing Spider-Man number 72. The news bulletin in panel 4 of Hulk and Hawkeye fighting the villain Zax is from the Incredible Hulk number 166, while the bulletin itself could be seen in Avengers number 114. The fight does indeed make it to the waterfront as stated in the next panel, where Hawkeye short-circuited Zax. Also in this panel, we see a photo of the Inhuman Triton driving a van from Avengers number 95, as well as a fight between the Hulk and the Thing from Fantastic Four number 25. This image is specifically based on that issue's cover, as within the issue itself, Mr. Fantastic was never present whenever Hulk and Thing fought in an open street. Page 43 gives us another angle of Phil's desk, and thus more photographs to examine. One depicts the top half of the villain Electro's head, which I believe is most likely from Amazing Spider-Man number 82. The photograph of Falcon swinging through a city with Redwing, his Falcon companion, is from either Captain America number 140 or number 143, based on the costume he is wearing. Additionally, in this panel on Phil's bookshelf, a bust of the Thing can be seen. Page 44 gives yet another view of Phil's desk and presents black and white photographs of the Human Torch's unveiling from Marvel's number 1 and numerous Origin comics, and Namor's televised threat to the Torch from Marvel's number 1 and Marvel Mystery Comics number 9. The headline at the bottom of this page detailing Ant-Man and the Wasp being found alive is from Marvel feature number 10, where the two are cured from being stuck at ant size by the villain Dr. Nemesis, who Ant-Man captures at Avengers Mansion. Finally, on page 45, the paperboy Phil and Doris are photographed with is a young Danny Ketch, who will one day go on to become one of the numerous Ghost Riders in the Marvel Universe. And that's that. Every reference I was able to find to original Marvel Comics in Marvel's number 4. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you spotted any references I missed.